When the great housing recession happened in '08 and '09, Fort Collins and Colorado in general did pretty well. There were pocket neighborhoods and houses that, of course, had problems, people going through foreclosure. We actually bought a house off the courthouse doorstep, so to speak, in 2009. That was my first foray into real estate. But overall, Fort Collins and Colorado did pretty well, especially comparatively to Arizona's, Florida's, Las Vegas. And right now, tonight, we are doing our market update for April 2023 that is going to look at the March numbers that just came in for residential detached houses in Fort Collins, Colorado, specifically against Denver, Colorado Springs, and Boulder. Because ultimately, I wanted to see how we are faring against our neighbors. How are our neighbors doing in this market that a lot of people have, concerns about, are wondering about, and ask a lot of questions. So we do this on a monthly basis. Each month we look back at the prior months just to see what's happening and then also give you guys some of our boots on the ground experience, because numbers are one thing, but also what is actually happening in the trenches, so to speak, is another. And we've got some case studies that we can help you guys understand what is going on. But my name is Patrick Sukup with Sukup Real Estate. This is the Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel, and appreciate you guys joining. If you guys are looking at learning anything there is to know about Fort Collins, living, eating, sleeping, playing, this is the channel. And we are licensed real estate agents in the state of Colorado. So give us a call, text, or email if you're considering buying, selling, or investing here in Northern Colorado. But let's jump into some analysis for our market update in April of 2023. So city of Fort Collins, median price for March of 2023, $625. 600 last month, but 592,000 a year ago, so up 5.5%, versus Denver, Colorado Springs, and Boulder all having reduced median sales prices versus 1 year ago. So they are seeing some contraction on prices, whereas Fort Collins is actually the only one of those four that saw a more modest 5.5% year over year. Now, this is just March of 2023 versus March of 22 increase. The 20s and high teens and 20% appreciations hopefully are gone for good. But I don't know, because there's some examples of houses that have sold for quite a bit more than list price. New listings. This is kind of what we're looking at to see what are interest rates having an impact on this market for sellers who may have voluntarily put their house on the market to move up, to move sideways, and or move into a different community possibly, but possibly are reconsidering because they might have a 2.5 or 3% interest rate. So we are seeing a reduced number of new listings in Fort Collins and Denver, but an increased number of listings in Colorado Springs and Boulder. Now, Boulder, they don't have. My theory for Boulder is they are probably a little bit less impacted on interest rates than Fort Collins, Denver, and Colorado Springs. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the clients that we work with that are very well off financially, do well for themselves. Yes, they're not excited about these increased interest rates, but it's not impacting their desire to either sell their house or buy a house. And Boulder is one of those where the median sales price is $1.4 million. There's houses $4, $5, $6, $10 million in Boulder. So they're just at a little bit of a different income stratosphere, you could say, and interest rates might impact them a little bit less. So inventory not necessarily being impacted on the new listings. But Fort Collins and Denver are definitely seeing a fewer amount of listings go onto the market. Now, that being said, we're also seeing a higher number of fewer buyers. So we are seeing less buyers at a higher rate than we are seeing less new listings. And that's what is also going to increase our inventory. So last year we had 142 homes under contract in March of 2023 and of March of 2022 when interest rates were about 4.5% to 5%, we had 186 homes under contract. So we are seeing a reduction of buyer demand in this market. And Colorado Springs is actually seeing an increase. My theory for that is that they're at a little bit lesser of a price point. 465,000 is by far the lowest of all four of these. So people may be moving a little bit further south where they can afford a little bit more or a better house for their dollar stretches further. So that could be a reason for that increase versus Fort Collins, Denver, or Boulder. Because when we do talk to people moving from across the country and world, they really are considering usually about two areas, Fort Collins or Longmont, or Fort Collins or Denver, or Fort Collins or Colorado Springs. So that's why we're comparing these. So I think it is impacting Colorado Springs' market for buyer demand because it's a little bit more affordable for them. Now, homes for sale up across the board. So homes are on the market, sitting a little bit longer. New listings are coming on, but buyer demand's really reduced. So we are seeing an increased amount of new inventory on the market. Now, that being said, we are so far away from a balanced market still. We're at about a month and a half supply in Fort Collins, and we need to get up to about 6 months of supply for it to be a more balanced buyer-seller market. So we're still quite a ways off from that. But across the board, we are seeing increased inventory, which is great. Buyers have a little bit more opportunity to look at. Now, the inventory that we're seeing on the market that's kind of stagnating is that $1.2 to $2.5 million price range that either it's not priced right or needs some work, or just really more than anything isn't necessarily priced right. Now, this is what I want to show you guys. As far as this is a scatter chart that looks at the sales price of a home above $200,000 up to $1 million that has a final list price versus its original final sales price versus its original list price, and the difference of is it above list price or below list price. And you can see a lot of the homes right around $500,000 are kind of sitting right at or around maybe a few more under list price than above. And as you get higher up, you're going to see a little bit more of a spread because, well, maybe there's this disparity between what the value is and what people are willing to pay. And that is really interesting because I think what we're seeing and why we're seeing so many at or around list price, around the $500,000 price point, is because you're seeing smaller homes sell for higher dollar per square foot. And so there's just kind of this cap. I think people do ultimately look for value when they're buying a house. And, a 1,800 square foot split level in Fort Collins, at this point, there's a house sitting on the market that is, I'd love for it to sell because we have an investment property in the same neighborhood. And I called my dad. I was like, hey, if this sells, our investment is worth a whole lot more than what I had. I have our investment that's an 1,800 square foot, 4-bed, 2-bathroom, bi-level in Fort Collins, valued right around $450 to $475. This was a 1,700 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, split level house, and they were asking $540 for it. So I was like, geez. So that price per square foot is increasing, and it's just going to be sitting. And so they're either going to have to do a price reduction or sell quite a bit under list price. And so it's interesting for buyers to come into the area and see what they should expect on the difference between list price and final sales price. Interest rates. Interest rates is what's one of the two biggest things that are dictating this market. Interest rates and inventory. Interest rates are up 38.8% versus 1 year ago. April 4th, we saw about 4.9%. We are seeing about 6.9% for a 30-year fixed. Those numbers can fluctuate with your amount of income, debt to income ratio, and your credit score. So that 6.9% really can fluctuate quite a bit. I just closed on a loan that my clients literally just closed on a house just before this. Clients closed at 5.5%. They did buy down the interest rate with $10,000 towards a buy down, but still, phenomenal interest rates in today's market. Now, the next thing we're looking at is new mortgage applications. This is in tandem, if you see, with under contract properties, 24% decrease versus 1 year ago. And what we're going to be looking at is the same thing. Seasonally adjusted purchase index increased 2%, but the compared with the previous week was 35% lower for new purchase mortgage applications. So it's really kind of telling that new purchase applications are absolutely getting impacted by the increased interest rates that we have. So what I'm seeing right here is lots of different things happening in the market. We have strong buyers in Fort Collins. People are moving here still from all over the country. People are parlaying their equity from their condo or townhome and trying to get into a single family with a large down payment, maybe taking a portion of that, buying down the interest rate a little bit. A lot of the sellers that we're seeing sell right now are empty nesters who are ready to either go move into a patio home, estates, so homes that have gone through probate, divorce situations. So there are absolutely homes selling, but those are the majority of the homes that we're seeing sell. A lot of homes that need work, need cosmetic updates. We closed on 2 houses in the last 10 days that both were, I call them grandma and grandpa houses, which I absolutely love, but are very well maintained, have the oak trims, not been updated since, early 90s, late 80s, but are in phenomenal condition. And for one reason or another, a lot of them are, again, empty nesters, taking that equity and parlaying it into either maybe a smaller home, a patio home. And those are selling. And here's the 5 examples that we've had in the last week. We had one property go under contract at $900,000. It was listed for $910,000. We offered $920,000. One that was listed for $645,000. We were under contract at $645,000. One that was listed at $540,000. Sorry, $560,000 that we went under contract for $640,000. This was a super weird property in the sense of the listing agent included the garage square footage. There was just a mad dash for this house on the market, over 10 offers on the home. My clients absolutely wanted to get it. They were moving money from Virginia to here, putting down about $400,000 down on the home. And so their mortgage was still very attainable, but very strong demand. Otherwise, the one that we closed on today was listed for $675,000. We got it for $660,000. And there's just these different houses that are, and we're another agent of mine, Zach, he put it on an offer, a pretty solid offer. I'm not going to say any numbers because they're still going under negotiations, but it's significantly higher over list with a high escalation clause. So there are homes that are sitting that you're able to get under list price. There are homes that are priced well that are getting sold at list price, and homes that are priced very aggressively in the sense of under market to kind of have this bidding war. We have a listing right now we put on the market for $399,000. Multiple offers. We are under contract for significantly higher than our list price. And it was just, this house was the absolute one that a buyer wanted to move on. And so they did. They put basically all their eggs in one basket and went after it. So that's, really what I would say here. I wanted to go over a few things. What to expect if you're a buyer. For the next few months, I think there's going to be competitive bidding on homes, especially if interest rates hold steady in the upper sixes. Buyer demand will be less than what it was a year ago. But if they decrease to those 4 or 5s, I feel like the floodgates are going to open, because I feel like there are a significant amount of buyers that are kind of holding, and also sellers that are waiting on the sidelines saying, hey, we're not ready to sell yet because we want to be able to go buy another one. And we don't want a 6.9% interest rate, but maybe we'll be happy at 4.5% or 5%. So it'll be interesting to see what interest rates do over the next 6 months. If you're a seller, it's a great time to be selling here in Fort Collins. Our heaviest buyer demand months in Fort Collins are April, May, and June. So we still have plenty of time. It takes us usually about 30 to 60 days to prep a house. We've got a listing coming up next week that we've been working on for about 60 days. I want to make sure that these homes are turnkey, properly staged, properly marketed. Any little maintenance items that can be taken care of that aren't huge expenses that have great return on investments, we are having our sellers do because the return on investment is huge. If it is a house that a buyer does not have to do any work, that demand on that house is significant. Or if it's a house that's priced accordingly for cosmetic updates, but seemingly all the bones are solid, mechanical, roof, sewer, plumbing, electrical, all those are good, you're going to have strong buyer demand because I think buyers are open and willing to do cosmetic updates, countertops, cabinetry, flooring, paint, but they don't want to be moving walls or having to do major mechanical updates or electrical or plumbing. So that is the Fort Collins market in a nutshell, ultimately holding up very well, especially comparatively price point wise to Boulder, Denver, and Colorado Springs. Let's jump into some questions if anybody has any. Where can you find a home in Northern Colorado where there is less chance for multiple offers? Right now, the homes that are getting the multiple offers are good location in a good neighborhood, priced right, with a turnkey type of opportunity, meaning especially if they're updated and it's priced well in a good neighborhood, they're flying off the shelves. Homes that may be in a not less than desirable neighborhood, but maybe less desired area in Northern Colorado, less smaller population that might need some work or could potentially be sitting on the market for whatever reason. An example would be, we were talking with Izzy. She's actively working these days as far as a real estate agent, doing a phenomenal job. I think she's going to be one of our best agents. Sorry, Connor and Zach. I got to say it. If she chooses to be. But that being said, Izzy's looking at a property that's been sitting on the market, just really was haphazardly put on, carpet's not cleaned, the place in general not cleaned. It seems like pictures were taken with an iPhone. The house has been sitting for 60 days, has had one very small price reduction. Those are the homes that are not going to get multiple offers. Otherwise, you can pretty much expect in Northern Colorado, if a house is priced right, which is tough to tell because, like I said, we have that scatter plot of homes with, you don't just see all the houses right along the $0 to $5,000. It could be anywhere, but it could be $200,000 up to $200,000 down below list price, depending on the type of buyer and terms and financing you're able to offer and get as a seller. But ultimately, if a home sits through the first weekend, it's probably not going to get multiple offers unless it has a price reduction, and at which point at that time, it could receive multiple offers. All right. I don't see any other questions at this time. Again, we go live once a month. Also, one thing that you guys should join with, it's been awesome for me personally, but we do a live in Fort Collins every Wednesday night. We look at City of Fort Collins Council, developments under review. We took a look at what's happened in Fort Collins, what's happening in Fort Collins, really just staying up to date what's happening in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado with the political climate of housing, real estate, just in general, anything that's going to impact Northern Colorado, and definitely worth the information, especially if you're considering it for a move. And if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call, text, or email. All right, guys, until next time.